the rest of the world they're okay with this. They're cool with it. So we'll start seeing more of it, but it's still, we still have a long way to go.
Do you think then maybe the way is so Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm is going to be played by Michael B. Jordan, but in the comic books he happens to be white. Do you think that's what needs to happen?
That's what I'm looking for currently. Is I love going in for castings that are either not written for my ethnicity or don't have a specific ethnicity at all. I think Michael B. taking that jumps us ahead, light years than what it would have been, because now it opens up the door of, oh, we didn't necessarily have to view that character that way. So, I think in the industry in general, so many of us are so proud of him and what he's done and how, far along he's moving so quickly, that because it's opening doors for everyone else.
And who's your favorite superhero?
Oh, I've always been like a Wolverine guy. That's just always been it. The fact he can't die, it's a guaranteed job.
Perfect. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you. Done?
Yeah. Hit him. Kareem from the Metro.
Okay.
Ooh,
you all right?
I got it, yeah. My superpower is agility.
Yeah.
So, hi. Obviously, you've been your character started off in a relatively small role in The Walking Dead, but got expanded as it went on. You've become very much part of the Walking Dead world and everything that goes along with that, like interacting with the fans and doing cons. But what's it like doing a con, like a Walking Dead event in the States, and what's it like coming over to the UK? Have you enjoyed your time?
Yeah, it's been cool. I think it's different because I think in the States we're kind of used to such a flood of these types of shows that are, after this one hit, there's like, 7 others that try to compete with it. So the fan base is a little bit more, I guess, kind of used to it. Here, it's, only the things that actually are successful make it over. So, it's a completely different grab and a completely different appreciation.
And often in this country, the TV and film industry has been accused of not providing enough roles for young black males to play. And actually a lot of young black British males have gone over to the States to find work because but do you think that there's still actually ways to go in America in terms of like providing, you're obviously one of the new crop of like young black males working in the industry?
I think there still is a ways to go. I think, we're a lot more vocal over there about it. So, we're kind of moving a bit faster. But yeah, no, I think there still is, there's a ways to go. I think, the generation before us of like, Idris and Don Cheadle and all Denzel did a fantastic job of showing that it doesn't necessarily have to be an ethnic specific role for there to be an ethnic lead. But yeah, we have a ways to go, but I think we're fighting at it. I think, the next generation of people will have it a lot easier than we do. Because, even we have kind of moved with, in leaps and bounds by like Empire and, all these other shows and the Blackish and all that. They're just doing incredibly well and showing, the country is not as, one race as you thought it was.
That's interesting. I mean, do you think, like, obviously, is it becoming more interesting that you're seeing a lot more kind of like ethnic blind casting? It's not casting based upon someone's race, just about who's best for the role.
That's what happened with The Walking Dead with me. There was no ethnicity for Noah. Noah was actually originally, they were actually looking at those who were actual amputees, possibly. But that happened with me. The last show I was on before, Go On, with which was short-lived, but it was actually scripted as British. That's what I personally love to do. I love to look for cast. Like my agents know that. Find me a casting call that only fits my age and doesn't fit my ethnicity, and get me in the room.
I know they want me to go, but you just mentioned something really interesting. So they said to someone British. Can you do a British accent?
Oh no, it's terrible. It's the worst. It's like really bad. But yeah, I'll go in there and I'll give my spin on it, and then hopefully it'll work.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Number 3.
You're number 3, sorry, you're not.
Okay. Hi, Tyler. I'm Mary Ann from the International Business Times.
Pleasure.
So I have a slightly more serious question to ask you.
Go for it.
There's a post that's always been, for the last couple of years, it's been going viral on Facebook. It's Morgan Freeman having this, not Morgan Freeman, sorry, Crosby, having this huge rant about young people, young black people in America today. And how
That was like, what, 5, 6 years ago?
yeah, and it's been making the rounds again, more and more, especially with all of the racial
Yeah.
rights issues going on in America. And, just interested to know, as the new crop of young black actors, do you feel that, is he out of whack? Is it, some of the stuff he says about, feeling like, the traditions of African American people and like a lot of the manners and how things have changed and how it's not really traditional to either American people or African people. What do you think about that?
I think it's twofold. I think he is disconnected in a way, but I think he also does have a point. In the 80s and the 90s, and I think, kind of the late 70s, we saw a dismantling of the African American family where, you didn't have these two-parent households anymore. Incredibly poverty-stricken situations in areas. Where before, it was really interesting. Our ghettos were kind of celebrated. It was our community. That's, we kind of accepted it. And then it became incredibly poverty-stricken and downtrodden and undereducated and all of that. And, so it took a turn. So in a way, he does have a point because I could see him growing up in that era and that's what he sees. But the disconnect is he kind of has to understand why this happened and why we're here. I'm not saying the ends justify the means, but it definitely makes sense. As you saw, this kind of fall apart of the community and, people putting into the community instead of, trying to get out of the community. There was a disconnect. I definitely have friends who, with me growing up, I could relate to the Cosby Show completely because that was, kind of my life. And then I definitely have friends who couldn't at all because they're like, I don't know what this looks like. This isn't me and my people. So I think, in one way he speaks of calling us higher, but in another, he has to understand that's not everyone's experience. And I think that's what, the issue is. We're not meeting people where they are to bring them to where they could be. We're just kind of calling them higher from the place that we're at, and that is judgmental.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Alice. I'm doing stuff for MCM, for
Awesome.
their Audio Boom channel. Just put that there. So, firstly, I just want to talk about, there were quite a lot of people when the rumours of another Spider-Man reboot going onto Twitter and getting quite excited about sort of suggesting that you should be the next Spider-Man. How did you kind of initially react to that?
I kind of followed the Miles Morales character quite a bit. My brother really did. So he had kind of suggested, like, if it goes that way, it could work. And, I'm open to the idea. I am. I'm not, like, starting campaigns or anything for it. Because, I trust Marvel. I've read for them before. So I trust, what their decisions will be. But yeah, I would love to do it. I would absolutely love to do it. I think there's, a few names in the hat that absolutely do make sense. Just be, kind of who's the best for it. But yeah, I would be stoked to do it.
And going back to your character on The Walking Dead, were you, because obviously he wasn't in it for very long, but were you surprised at kind of the big reaction that he got?
Yeah, I was. It's interesting because as an actor, everything that your character does is important to you. Like every little thing, but that doesn't necessarily translate to the audience. So I was just used to that. I was used to, it not being as important to everybody else. So when he went, I was really surprised by, how much it affected people considering he had only been around for 9 episodes.
And where do you think you could have seen him going had he not died?
It's interesting. I always thought Noah was eventually going to sacrifice himself for somebody. He was going to die at some point soon because I think he just felt like he owed the group a death after the death of like Beth and Tyrese. And he had nothing left in the world outside of them. His family was gone. His home was gone. He's now like kind of a part of this family now, and I think he was willing to die for it. So I think eventually he was going to die in place of somebody.
And how do you think you would do in a zombie apocalypse?
Oh, I wouldn't make it. No, absolutely not. Mainly because, I have that like kind of Achilles heel of sometimes caring about people. And then, you pull in the wrong person, you try to save the wrong person and be a hero. That's it. You're done.
think you could have kind of found a group like Noah did and just be inside?
I mean, I could have stumbled upon a group, not like put one together. I could have stumbled upon a group, but that's like in the best case scenario if like all of my people were gone. If all of my people were gone, then fine, maybe I make it. If there's people I actually love and care about, I'm probably going in the first 2 weeks.
And your new role in the Criminal Minds spin-off, how similar was that to Noah?
They're not that similar. I think they're similar in the way they care about people. They take everything kind of to heart. Only thing is Noah, I feel like was somebody who would ultimately fall on the grenade. And Monty, in another way, is going to try to think around it and figure it out so that everybody can make it. Noah was more sacrificial.